How's it going, guys? Thank you for coming back to the channel. My name is David Aguilar, or you may know me as Ariel Austin. And today we're going to be talking about what Sony camera is the best for you in 2021 and 2022. This video has, I think, been years in the making because I have so many conversations with photographers who want to switch from Canon and Nikon onto Sony. And when they use my setup, they're always surprised about how light it is compared to their setup. And I'm always talking to a lot of you guys online, asking me what kind of cameras I use or what you should use for your creativity. So I thought I'd make this video to help a lot of you guys who want to know what kind of Sony camera to use. And, you know, even budget wise, I think one of the best things you could do is find a lot of these cameras used. So let's talk about your beginner photographer. Maybe you're somebody who wants to start a new hobby, or you have a little extra cash and you're thinking to yourself, hey, I want to learn how to be better as a photographer and I want something to kind of get me there. What I would suggest is your Sony a6500 or your Sony a6400. Those are two cameras that I've shot a lot with. One of the cameras that really got me into becoming a better photographer was the Sony a6500. When I got that camera, it just elevated me to want to shoot better videos and better photos. The slow motion on that was really, really good. And so that was something that really started my photography journey. I took it even more serious when I had it, and then it got me into using interchangeable lenses. The reason I would rather recommend the 6400 over the 6500 is because of the screen. The a6400 has like a flip out screen. So if you're using it for like vlogs or talking headshots or something where you want to see yourself, it's going to be the better camera out of the two. And also the a6400 is a newer camera, so it has auto tracking that's way better than the 65, and a lot of the color tones and so many things on the 6400 are better. But what I would recommend if you're getting into photography is see if you can find a used a6500 or a6300 on Facebook Market or eBay or somewhere where you can find it probably cheaper. Because if you want to start this new hobby but you don't have a lot of money, I think going used is the best way to go. That's what I did for the longest time. I would just hop on Facebook Market and see who was selling their camera, and if I was upgrading. So when I went from the a6500 to the a7S II, I was looking on Facebook Market to see who was selling it. Found one, I think for between, I think it was like $1,200 that I got the a7S II for. So I ended up getting that, and I shot on that for a good 6 months to a year about. And then from that, I went to the Sony a7 III, which I also got on Facebook Market for about $1,500. So what I like to do is, honestly, I'll go to Best Buy and I'll mess with the cameras and I'll check them out. And then I'll go on Facebook Market and see if I can find a cheaper price or somebody who's selling it. Usually your crop sensors are on there. So your a6500, a6300, which I would say if you could find those for about $500 or $600, buy it, because then you can get a lens. If you want to get a used lens, or you want to go to, you know, a camera store or Best Buy, you can get maybe the 18-105, which is under $1,000, and you have like a whole dope setup for less than $2,000. And I think the a6500, like I said, even now in 2001, 2000, and I would say right now, even the a6500 in 2021, 2022 would still be a solid camera if you're starting off. The megapixels are great, the video quality is great, the slow motion is awesome, and you can't go wrong with it. Like I said, if you find it for $500 or $600, which I've seen it on Facebook Market, or you could try to talk people down or something like that. Usually when people are trying to get rid of their older cameras, they just want to buy new gear. So if you could find someone who's trying to sell it, and you could talk them down to $500, $600, I highly recommend it. But if you want to buy a brand new one and you don't know which one you want to go for, I suggest either the 6400 or 6600, just because those are the newer ones that have a flip out screen, and to me would kind of last you into the next couple years. Next up, I want to talk to the amateur shooters. Those of you who probably have more time and more money to invest into photography. I would say stick with your Sony full frame cameras. So that goes from the Sony a7C, Sony a7 IV, and the Sony a7 III. And the reason I would choose those is because they're pretty much the same camera, but do things a little different. So for me, the Sony a7C is what I go to all the time because I'm biased and I have it. And that's the one I would recommend because it's not super expensive like the Sony a7 IV, but it pretty much does all the things you need it to do. And it's a really good camera, and the flip out screen is my favorite thing in the world. Now, the only reason I would recommend for you to get a Sony a7 III is if you were to find one on Facebook Market for about $1,000, $900, if you can talk somebody down to that price, get the Sony a7 III, because then you can get a used lens, or you can get a brand new lens for about, you know, you can get a Tamron lens for under $1,000, and you got a whole setup for $2,000 that you could elevate your game with. If you have the Sony a7 III, if you can find that for 900, and then get maybe the Tamron 17 to 28, or if you want to get the Tamron 28 to 75, you got like such a dope setup, and you're not breaking the bank on that one. You're keeping it in between $2,000, but you're still getting a great quality. But if you do have more money that you want to spend, the Sony a7 IV, it's the newest one out of the bunch, has, you know, the better specs out of all of them, and you could really do a lot with this camera. So I would say if you're looking for something to kind of get you into the more of the creative realm, to do more cinematic things, to get better photos, and to just really elevate your Instagram game or even your YouTube videos and all that kind of stuff, your Sony a7C is my favorite. Again, I'm biased, I have it. But if you could afford a Sony a7 IV, do it. But if you want to be somebody who likes to haggle, I like to haggle a lot. So if you want to haggle and you want to find a Sony a7 III for about $1,000, man, more power to you. Now I want to talk to you professional photographers, you guys who really want to kill it in what you're doing. I would say it's the Sony a7R, the Sony a7S, and the Sony a9. And I would say these are for your more niche or specific photographers. So like your Sony a7R, if you're somebody who really wants to focus on like sports or like live action, concerts, all that kind of stuff, you want to get a lot of detail, maybe even astrophotography. If you want to get a lot of detail in your shot and you want to get, you know, a crazy image, the Sony a7R is meant for you. A lot of you portrait photographers, the Sony a7R is exactly what you're looking for, because it's going to give you all the detail you want, and it's going to make the image so much more beautiful, and you're going to get crazy images with it. I've shot in the Sony a7R II a couple of times, and I liked it. I thought it was a great camera. I was just somebody who really enjoyed video, so that's why I went to the Sony a7S. The Sony a7S was made for low light videography and photography. It does so good in low light. So if you're somebody who's doing a lot of concerts, or you're somebody who's doing maybe music videos, or if you're someone who likes street photography and you like doing the nighttime moody stuff, the Sony a7S is exactly for you, because you get to use the low light capabilities on it, and it's going to take your photos to a whole nother level. And really the Sony a9, if you could afford it, it's a good camera. I've never shot on it, but the friends that I have who have shot on it think it's really good for a lot of your sports photography, a lot of your fast-paced racing photography kind of stuff. It's a really good camera. I wish I could speak more on it, but I have never shot on it. But I'm sure you could find other videos on there. Now, the reason I kept it between that parameter is because you're keeping all these, you know, prices anywhere from $1,000 to at most maybe $6,000 or $7,000 for a camera. Sony has way more expensive cameras that I have never messed with, so I'm not going to speak on. But, you know, the range that I'm giving you is kind of what got me into being a photographer. When I got into it, you know, the Sony a5100 was really good because it taught me how to vlog a little bit, how to hold the camera, had the flip up screen. But then when I started using the a6500, it really made me think of things more cinematically. The slow motion on that was mind-blowing to me at the time, and I thought it was the greatest thing on earth, so I was always shooting everything in slow motion. But then when I got into the Sony a7S, that really made me take kind of my video way more serious, and my low light photography. I was doing a lot of going downtown to Austin while it was really dark and trying to get the best photos with that I could. But to me, the Sony a7C just fits in all of my bags. It's so small and compact. And like I said, that flip out screen is just a game changer, especially when I'm doing video work and all that. It just allows me to get a lot of different angles. So I hope that this helps you guys figure out what camera is right for you, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or amateur, or even going into the professional shooting commercials type of things. Sony has a camera for every single one of you. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope this helps you find the right Sony camera for you. Like I said, whether you're a beginner, an amateur, or a pro, I believe that there's a Sony camera out there for every single one of you. And I hope that this video kind of allowed you to boil it down to what you should get. And like I said, I'm a big proponent of using Facebook Market or even talking to other photographers to see if they're selling their gear. Because if you can get a really good camera at a cheaper price, especially if you're starting off, you're not breaking the bank and you're still giving yourself room to grow as a photographer with all this gear. So if you guys want to see any different videos, comment below. I'm thinking about doing one of the Sony a7C versus the a6400 because one of them is crop sensor, one of them is full, but to me, they both do a great job. That's why I'm using the Sony a6400 as a talking head camera because I think it does great. Until then, guys, please like, subscribe, and share if you like this channel, and I will see you on the flip side.